Tonight, a special report. The Marines practice for war in the waters off Puerto Rico, and local fishermen put up a fight. 2020 takes you right into the action as Geraldo Rivera reports on Trouble in Paradise.
Beyond the blue horizon.
Vieques is a sweet island, one of those emeralds set in the Silver Sea. It has a permanent population of about 9,000. Farmers and fishermen mostly, men and women who reap the rich harvests of the Caribbean. The other major resident is the United States Navy. Beneath the island's famous phosphorescent bays is a lush underwater garden filled with swaying coral and schools of feeding fish. But the principal owner of the Navy isn't using Paradise Island for rest and relaxation. It's preoccupied with more lofty pursuits than fishing. For the last 38 years, the Navy's been using Vieques for target practice.
Vieques is very vital to us in the Atlantic Fleet. There's no doubt in my mind, as the operational user, that this is the key place for us to do our training.
It's the only place where we have, in one location, range for air-to-air, air-to-surface, surface-to-surface missiles, electronic warfare range overlaying it all, air-to-ground ordnance, ship-to-shore gunfire support. It's the only place in the whole Atlantic Fleet, in fact, the only place that I know of anywhere, that we are able to conduct training in all of these facets at once.
Carlos Anan, head of the Fishermen's Union.
If we have to stay on our homes, waiting for the Navy to do the war games, what are the family going to eat? They says, well, 150 fishermen, they can go to the food stamps line. So I told him at that time that he was going to be in trouble, that we were going to put a stop to that.
Using the tactics of harassment and civil disobedience, the island's fishermen have attempted to disrupt every naval maneuver held in the last 2.5 years. According to the fishermen, the Navy's military use of the offshore waters is forcing them out of business. The richest fishing areas have been declared off limits, and waters once renowned for their schools of snappers, groupers, and shellfish now feature a harvest of a much different sort. Unexploded aerial bombs now litter a coral reef, smashed to grayness by years of continuous shelling.
Whew. There's a couple of big ones down there. At least 2 500-pounders I saw, and one that looked like a 2,000-pounder.
It's the only place I can train on the East Coast. Yeah, we may be in the wrong place, but if it's the only place, then it's the right place.
There are small elements and dissident groups against anything. I mean, there are some against motherhood.
Buenos dias, Almirante Conoisen.
The 90% of the people are very pro-Navy.
Proud of the Navy.
Wonderful. How are you?
Tremendous number of former military people on the island.
Sure.
We have never been bothered by shells or bombs or by noise even, with maybe one exception. Many years ago, when some howitzers were placed down just below my house, they were firing there. We could hear that quite well. In fact, it rattled the windows when they would fire all in unison.
You don't want the communists here.
To me, it's communist. Communist-backed, and they're out to get the Navy out. They want free Puerto Rico from being an American colony, as it is. People don't like to use that word, but literally that's what we are.
As far as we could determine, only about 1 islander in 4 wants the Navy to stay. The majority, however, who want the Navy out are supported by every political party and personality in Puerto Rico, including the conservative governor of the Commonwealth, Carlos Romero Barceló.
Is the opposition based on a feeling of anti-American sentiments?
I don't think it has anything to do with being anti-American. I'm a statehooder myself. I want Puerto Rico to be the 51st state of the Union. Therefore, I'm proud of my American citizenship. But I don't think the people of the island of Nantucket or Martha's Vineyard would like to have part of their island used by the Navy for naval practice, for bombardment. I mean, nobody likes that.
All we want to do is do our job here and train the Navy so that they can do the job to protect you.
The most recent exercises were a combined operation codenamed Red X-1 Alpha. Held last month, it involved 15 ships, 10,000 naval, and 1,200 Marine Corps personnel. Commanding the Marines was Colonel Francis White. The Marines are landing, but it's doubtful whether it can be said that they have the situation well in control. Their landing is being opposed not by a hostile army, but by a hostile group of fishermen here in Vieques. Fishermen who say they want this island for their purposes, not for the purposes of the U.S. Marine Corps or the United States Navy. Even as the Marines were heading in to storm the hostile beach and secure it from the make-believe enemy, their real opponents, the fishermen, began their own attack. Fishermen's protests aside, this amphibious landing didn't exactly look like those seen in the old movies. Aside from the problems they had with the Vieques fishermen, this landing didn't exactly go off as planned. Landing ship doors got stuck, trucks got bogged down in the sand, and a military expert on the beach said that if there were even token opposition, this would have been a catastrophe.
From watching this operation today, I'd say that there's nothing unique about Vieques that the Marines couldn't practice amphibious landings that they couldn't do somewhere stateside.
Where could we do live fire, which will be going on in the impact area, and live air at the same time as we project the seaborne force ashore?
Well, you're not firing in coordination with the troops, you're not firing near the troops, and you're not even firing live rounds.
It wasn't a pop all morning.
No, not here. Now, there is up in Alpha objective, I understand, where we have positioned the aggressors.
But why is it necessary then to storm ashore here if you're not even going to be using the live fire until well after the landing?
Again, the scenario into which we projected this had it that the beach landing was not defended in strength, that the aggressors moved, in fact, back to the series of high grounds, which are back over in there, as I recall. I'd have to look at my map. It's extremely valuable to bring combat troops or troops designated for combat into terrain that is unfamiliar to them. These troops, most of them, have never been here before. So, in fact, this is a strange place. They need a map, they need a compass. They need to know where they are. They'll get confused. Some of them will get lost, perhaps. Temporarily, we hope.
Marine Corps critics, including the Brookings Institute and the General Accounting Office, charge that the Corps is training for a type of battle that's become hopelessly obsolete. The last time the Marines came ashore under fire was at Okinawa during World War II, almost 35 years ago.
You would rate this as a success?
Yeah, given the scenario into which we projected the force, under these conditions, it was not perfect, but it accomplished the job.
But the future of and real need for this type of operation aside, the most immediate problem for the Navy was the fishermen. Admiral Knoyson took personal charge of the effort to get the demonstrators out of the operations area. As the showdown approached, it was evident that the situation had become volatile.
It bothers me extremely because I'm concerned that someone is going to get hurt.
No matter what the Navy thinks, no matter what the Navy plans, and no matter what the Navy wants to do, the fishermen are going to be there early in the morning, and we're going to challenge them. they want to deprive the people from this island to develop the island the way the island should be developed. I don't know if you know, this island has 33,000 acres of land, and the Navy holds 26,000 acres of it.
26,000 out of 33,000.
Right, and we want the island.
Tomorrow they plan aerial bombardment and naval bombardment. Are the fishermen going back into that area?
No doubt about that. We'll be there early in the morning.
When dissident groups insist on landing on the beach and going up into the area where there is unexploded ordnance, where it can go off unpredictably at any time of the day or night, and I feel for their own safety, I must go in and get them out.
Despite the fact that you may be arrested again?
Despite the fact that I may be arrested. I mean, this is our right, and this is something that Carter's been talking so much about, the human rights. I think this is our rights, and we're going to go on it, and we're going to fish in that area, and we're going to stop the bombardment.
They don't seem to understand that we are Puerto Rico's Navy as well as we are the United States Navy, because we're all United States citizens.
It ultimately came down to a confrontation. And you have to wonder about the effect these protests are having on the servicemen involved. Getting booed, jeered, and jostled by hostile civilians is definitely not an activity designed to boost morale. It's scenes like these that make you feel sorry for everyone involved.
Yankee, go home!
Okay, let's get the crews back on the boat.
Two dozen fishermen were arrested, and the battle for Paradise Island continues. The government of Puerto Rico has sued the Navy in federal court. The lawsuit charges that the Navy wrongfully escalated its bombing and other practices, and that the constant shelling threatens the island's ecology as well as several endangered species. The Navy has denied all allegations of wrongdoing. With their harassing tactics, the fishermen were finally able to force the Navy to cancel most of the exercise, making Red X-1 Alpha a $5 or $10 or $20 million fiasco, depending on whose numbers you believe. As for the other issue, whether the Marine Corps should even be bothering to practice amphibious landings, well, back in 1975, then Secretary of Defense James Schlesinger said he had serious doubts about, quote, the need for an amphibious assault force, which has not seen anything more demanding than essentially unopposed landings for over 20 years, end quote. And since 1975, many high-ranking military officers and defense analysts have come to agree with Mr. Schlesinger's conclusions. The Marines may have come ashore for the last time.